Tonight we have an update to a story that we brought you earlier this week about the push to rename what we call Buffalo's East Side East Buffalo instead. Advocates say it's about referring to it in the same way that we do North Buffalo or South Buffalo, which sound like their own communities, not just a section of a city. Buffalo Common Council member Ulysses Wingo officially introduced a resolution today to have the city, state, and federal governments adopt the name change, something that a lot of people in the community have already started doing. And finally for us here on the Town Hall, the Common Council that Wingo is part of is the focus of a story from our nonprofit partners at investigative-post. The focus is that something we've heard about a lot over this past year at the state and federal level, gerrymandering, the drawing of district lines to benefit the politicians who run there, not the people they represent. Advocates and good government groups are trying to stop a plan that they say would bring gerrymandering to the Queen City. Joining us live now to talk about it is reporter Geoff Kelly, who wrote this article for Investigative Post. So Geoff, what is it exactly advocates are concerned about here in Buffalo with this?
Well, what they're really concerned about is that when we did this redistricting about 11 years ago, we gerrymandered some districts in order to serve political interests back then. And this represents a once-in-a-decade opportunity to fix that gerrymandering and perhaps also inject some more racial equity, some more neighborhood cohesion into some of the districts. And what activists are concerned about is that the council seems determined rather to reiterate the current districts, to leave them more or less the same, including the gerrymandering from 11 years ago. We only get to do this once a decade, Michael, and so I think they're basically arguing we should do this right.
Yeah, and if you don't do it now, then you're stuck with it for a long time to come, right?
Exactly.
One of the realities of this, though, and it's a strange thing because local government affects you so much. People always seem to know their federal representatives, right? Oftentimes they don't even know who represents them in City Hall or in their local town or local village. And so, you know, this doesn't get as much attention. What would you say to people about why they should care about this?
Well, again, the issue is that it only happens every 10 years. And the realities, the political realities, the neighborhood realities in this town are changing. 10 years ago, the redistricting was dealing with loss of population. This time around, we're dealing with, astonishingly, gratefully, a growth in the city's population. And a lot of that has to do with new Americans, with immigrants and refugees. And perhaps we ought to be thinking about that. Because as you point out, we're going to be living with whatever we do for 10 years. It should represent the reality of our neighborhoods now.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned we're growing now, and that changes the whole dynamic. We're all thankful for that, no doubt. There is a lot to this story, conversations with the key players, so make sure you check out Geoff's reporting at investigativepost.org. Geoff, thanks so much for coming on.